Yo, what's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman,
How the hell are you?
I'm fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal with some OG Kush that was grown by our friend Big Earl. And OG Kush was first cultivated in Florida in the early 90s when marijuana strain from Northern California was supposedly crossed with Chemdog, Lemon Thai, and Hindu Kush, plant from Amsterdam. The result was a hybrid with a unique terpene profile that boasts a complex aroma with notes of fuel, skunk, and spice. OG often refers to original gangster or ocean grown, indicating either the strain's authenticity or intensity. Many people have different names for the acronym, but the real OG Kush should smell like lemon pine fuel with high THC, mixed head and body effect. It's often enjoyed in the back half of the day to ease stress. The genetic backbone of the West Coast cannabis varieties of OG Kush arrived in Los Angeles in 1996 when Matt Bubba Burger bought it along with the Bubba, which was later used to create the famed Bubba Kush. From Florida to legendary cultivator Josh D, since then, OG Kush has become a worldwide staple used to create numerous famous strains like GSC and Headbam. There's been many different phenotypes of OG Kush weed, including the Tahoe OG, SFV OG, and Ghost OG. The most abundant terpene in OG Kush is myrcene, followed by limonene and caryophyllene, and this is the Josh D cut that Big Earl got to grow. So OG Kush also helps stress, anxiety, pain, hunger, relaxed, and then sleepy. Flavors are woody, pine, earthy, and we've been smoking this for a hot minute now. And we smoked it on the show when we first got it, and it is phenomenal. I love this strain at night. It is great. It does help me think a little bit too, but it does make me sit into the couch and want to do nothing but float into my thoughts. So while we're smoking, Mrs. Weeman's going to tell you a little bit about 8decades.com. Tell us about it, Ms. Weeman.
Yes. 8decades.com, we established back in 2020, and we felt it was time to expand our brand. So we created an accessory line for flower users and really for anybody. We also have hemp clothing and we've got some good accessories, and there's also Weedman 420 swag on our site, so you can head over to 8decades, that's the word, not the number, EIGHT, decades.com, and check us out. If you sign up for the newsletter, we will not bombard you with newsletters, I promise, but you will get free shipping on your first order. So check us out, 8decades.com.
I love it. I love it. 8 Decades is great. If you haven't bought a rolling tray or a smoke set, you're missing out. That 16 gauge stainless steel, my goodness, that will not go anywhere. You can't even knock it off your lap. It's so heavy. You can stop a bullet with that thing. Plus the ashtray, the 3-piece ashtray, and the tool set. Amazing stuff. All dishwasher safe. It is a great tool to use for rolling, for just putting your bud out there and looking how pretty your buds look, for just doing the things a rolling tray does. There's curved edges so your weed doesn't fall out when you're scooping it up to put in your bowls or your joints, and it is a phenomenal tool, so please check it out at 8decades.com, because like I always say, you support 8decades.com, you help Mrs. Weedman and I keep on producing shows for you every week, so thank you, everybody. And we also like to thank all of our partners, dispensary partners out there in Illinois, taking care of us out there. We really appreciate you, and go check it out, and 8decades.com, everybody. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are trying to hit 1,000 YouTube followers. We're at like almost 800, I believe, which is pretty great. And so please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Weedman 420 Chronicles. That would be awesome. And then also you can go to Buzzsprout too and also support the show by clicking on that link and donating to our show as a monthly member or one-time donor, just to help us out so we can keep on producing and pay our producer, Shoddy, because she's the best. So, our studio is still not done. We are in the painting phase of the studio. Carpet has been ordered. Be here in a week. And so right now, we are recording in a different room tonight because we were recording in the makeshift studio, but now that's being painted. So we are now recording in our kitchen, which is corked walls. So the sound is actually really nice in here. So, yes, we have corked walls. Mrs. Weedman likes it because she just takes a little thumbtack and wants to put a note up for me to say, "Mr. Weedman, do this," and puts the cork on the cork wall. So, and it's pretty nice. So the sound in here is not traveling. There's no echo.
Not too bad.
No, because I went in the room, the studio, the Mrs. Weedman is a rock star. She pulled all the carpet out yesterday when the painter was here and started to paint, and I went in the room and I said, "Hello, Mrs. Weedman," and there was like I was sounding in the mountains. Yeah,
Hello,
it's
hello, hello.
so
Yeah.
I was like, "Damn, where are we gonna record?" And, I said, "Well, let's try the kitchen out," and it's great. I am actually a little impressed, so, with that. So, Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
some sad news in the stoner burner
Yep.
pothead world. Bob Weir, one of the founding members of Grateful Dead, passed away. So, folks, lay back. Spark went up for the legend because today, right now, we're talking about the long, wild trip of Bob Weir, the rhythm guitar wizard, songwriter, founding member of the Grateful Dead, who passed away at 78 years old. Don't forget. Bob's family shared a statement saying Bob transitioned peacefully, surrounded by his loved ones after courageously beating cancer, but ultimately succumbing to underlying lung issues. Now, Bob wasn't just another guitarist, he helped build the whole jam band universe. Born in San Francisco in the late 40s, he met Jerry Garcia in his teens, and together they helped form and what would become the Grateful Dead. But don't forget, originally called the Warlocks back in the mid 60s. And what a ride it was. Bob's rhythm guitar style was one of those things you don't quite describe. You gotta feel it. He brought jazz, blues, folk, and straight up cosmic improvisations into every show, and Deadheads followed them like modern day pilgrims, night after night, coast to coast. And don't forget, they helped highlight and bring global recognized to the number 420. Don't forget, one of the founders of the term 420 toured with them and was a roadie for them. And that's how the term 420 spread like wildfire across the world. So he wrote and sang, led on many classics like Sugar Magnolia, One More Saturday Night, and Mexicali Blues,
Mm.
songs of Mrs. Weedman's fave, songs that still echo through campfires and basements everywhere. And also station wagons, big blue ones that the windows came down in the back and you stuck your head out while you're driving on the highway listening to trucking with your dad, because that's what I did. So, and even after Jerry Garcia passed away in 1995, Bob kept the spirit alive, rolling forward with Dead and Company and other projects, spreading that timeless vibe for decades and more. 60 years of music, 60 years of connection. That ain't nothing. Bob took the road hard, touring relentlessly and carrying the Dead's message of love, freedom, and togetherness. Of the original lineup, only drummer Bill Krutzman remains. Phil Lesh passed away in 2024, and the rest have drifted into the great jam in the sky. But here's the beautiful thing, everyone. The music never really stops. Bob Weir once said that there's no final curtain, just another turn in the groove.
Hmm.
So as we sit here, joint and lighters in hand, smoking, celebrating the great Bob Weir, a storyteller, a vibe shifter, a true cosmic brother. His chords, his smiles, his spirit, they still ride on through those long, winding jams. We'll miss you, Bob. But like any dead tune, you're still playing somewhere out there in the music.
Hmm.
Ms. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
I know how much you love the Dead.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about your first experience, maybe listening to it, or some songs that are your
Hmm.
favorite.
Hmm. I had, different groups of friends, like, once I left grade school because I went to a high school that was 45 minutes away from home, and probably 90% of the girls I went to high school with went to the local Catholic high school. So I went to a far off suburb and went to school with mostly people I didn't know. But we always joked because that school accumulated extra students as the years went on, and those were students that would not do so well at the Catholic school.
I called it the bad girl school she went to.
Yeah, I was also at a Catholic girls' school, but we were like the bad girls on the hill. And so the girls that got kicked out or didn't do well at, other schools would transfer over. So little by little, girls from my neighborhood would start attending that school with me. Like in grade school, I don't have a lot of Grateful Dead memories because I don't know. It just didn't hear it as much. My dad was more like classic rock and roll, which you could say the Grateful Dead fall into that genre, but it just wasn't something that was always played at home. So I knew of them. I knew some songs, but not super like well versed in it. And in high school, some of those girls from grade school became like kind of evolved into their natural hippie selves. And so there was a handful, like this group from the neighborhood that were like deadheads and
Mhm.
just kind of hippies, right? And we all kind of hung together. There was this kind of people and that kind of people. Like it was a pretty diverse mix of people that all hung out in the neighborhood together. But one particular friend, Mike Murphy, who was a just a solid, really good guy, and his nickname was Ungie, and Ungie was just a fucking deadhead. He was a wake and baker, he was chill, he was cool, he was, like, just a super cool guy, and he loved the Grateful Dead. And unfortunately, Ungi died in a tragic car accident when I was in high school. And at the time, his parents had divorced, prior to that. And it was kind of messy. And then his dad was dating this woman on their block where he grew up. And then she was a neighbor. And then his dad and that woman broke up. And his dad remarried someone else, and Ungi was mad about that and didn't get along with the stepmom, so he moved in with Mary down the street, his
Mm.
dad's ex-girlfriend. And Mary Hinchy, was just this generous, wild soul. She was just the coolest lady. She took Ungi in, and that meant she took in all of Ungi's friends. So it was just an open door policy. The house was never perfect, but it was always warm and filled with laughter and just goodness. And so I just remember days and hours of just sitting in Ungi's room that would be filled with friends, or we'd be in the basement and always the Grateful Dead was on. So
Nice.
Truckin' and all those classics were always playing in the background, and it like framed so much of my stoner getting high references in my life
Right.
because that was really like it was just cool times, and it was
Yeah.
just always fun. There was beer, but there was no, like, heavy drinking. There were shrooms, but there was not, like, crazy, like, why it wasn't crazy wild. It was just always chill and cool.
Stoners in the basement.
Yeah.
It's always chill.
So and Grateful Dead was always part of it. So and then I did get to see Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead at Soldier Field, when I was about 20. So that was really cool to
Nice.
experience. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never got to see the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
My Uncle Lewis, the truck driver, though, has a trucking tattoo on his
That's cool.
arm, and he is a huge Deadhead. He's seen them, I think, like 6 times, he told me, and just loved the Grateful Dead. So I never got to see the Grateful Dead, unfortunately, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I
It
get to
was
see him
cool.
once. It's
Yeah.
amazing. With
Yeah.
Jerry Garcia still alive,
Mhm.
that's even better,
Yeah.
and the whole band. So
Mhm.
amazing, amazing. So Bob Weir, rest in music, rest in peace, rest in power, rest in love.
Yes.
We're gonna miss you.
Thank you for the gift of your music.
Yes, absolutely. So, enough tears. You ready to get the
Yep.
show started, Ms.
Let's
Weedman?
do it. Let's
All
do it.
right. Here's something clinically nerdy, but super relevant to the cannabis world. An actual randomized pilot study looking at CBD for dental pain after tooth extraction. This isn't some bro science. It's real human research published in the Pharmaceuticals from NDPI. So picture this. Someone just got a tooth yanked. A pain management usually means ibuprofen, acetylphenamine, NSAIDs, which do the job, yes, but they also come with side effects, baggage like gut irritation, liver stress, and all the fun stuff no one wants to think about. The research team wanted to ask simple but powerful questions. Can CBD, good old cannabinoid, the non-intoxicating part of cannabis, help with that acute post-extraction pain? Not chronic back pain, not anxiety, not sleeplessness, actual surgical pain right after the old dentist goes, pull right out the mouth. Ugh, I've had 5 teeth pulled. They're not fun. Here's how they set it up. 8 adults total. Yeah, small sample, pilot vibes, randomized into 4 groups. High dose CBD, 37 milligrams. Low dose CBD, 17 milligrams. Placebo, oil, standard therapy. The usual ibuprofen, aceta routine. Everyone used the oils or pills over 7 days and rated their pain in real time using text. Now let's talk what's actually happened. The high dose CBD group showed pain scores that looked a lot like standard non opioid pain meds. Good. Low and stable over the first 72 hours. That's wild because it suggests at higher concentrations, CBD might be holding its own against mainstream pain meds for this kind of acute surgical pain. Meanwhile, the low dose CBD group didn't look much different from placebo, meaning if you're going to use CBD for pain, at least in this setting, there's a threshold you need to hit. Tiny doses might just float around without doing much. And here's the kicker. No serious adverse effects. A few people mentioned mild stuff like drowsiness or dry mouth, but nothing that stopped anyone from using the treatment. That's a big deal, especially when you're talking about potential alternatives to NSAIDs or opioids. Keep in mind, this was a pilot study, small group, early phase, so we can't say CBD is definitely a dental pain cure yet, but the patterns are suggestive, especially for the higher concentration CBD dose, which seem to track right alongside standard therapy in terms of pain control. The study authors even note that anti-inflammatory potential of CBD, downregulating things like pro-inflammatory cytokines, could be part of the mechanism here. It's not just a buzzword. There's real biological plausibility behind what this might help. And yeah, future trials with more people, better blinding, and even biomarker tracking are the next steps. But from a weed science perspective, this is the kind of evidence that keeps me lit up. CBD's role in pain management keeps looking way more nuanced and promising than the old CBD for everything meme. So next time someone scoffs at cannabis research, remind them this is an antidote. This is real randomized clinical stuff showing CBD might actually ease pain after something as common as a tooth extraction. Exciting for a guy that's had 5 teeth pulled and maybe a couple more down the road. Who knows? I have my mom's teeth. I guess I was not blessed with good teeth. My back teeth all grew in hollow, so they crack and fall apart, so they always have to get pulled. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Yeah, it's the truth. Mrs Weedman's looking at me like, what?
Well, it's not
Yes.
like you're missing any teeth.
I am missing one up
One.
there that got pulled, and I didn't want to. It's so on the far back. I'm like, I don't want to spend another $5,000 putting a fake tooth in there. So, but yes, I have had 5 teeth pulled, and I've had 4 out of the 5 replaced. One with gold. If you ever see Mr. Weedman, ask him to see his gold tooth with the weed leaf in it. I will give you a smile, and you'll see bling. All right, 2025 was a good year for cannabis health studies. Mrs. Weedman's going to tell you about the top 10. Tell us about it, Miss Weedman.
All right. Research into cannabis health effects in 2025 continued to defy regulatory barriers, especially in the United States, where federal funding remains restricted for benefit focused cannabis science. Despite that, academic and international studies advanced our understanding of how cannabis impacts behavior, physical health, and public health outcomes. So, we have adult use trends. A large study from Berkeley found that adult cannabis use rates in California stayed steady for years after legal retail access began, challenging the assumption that legalization inherently leads to more use. How about teen use? A separate analysis in the International Journal of Mental Health and Addiction showed no uptick in daily cannabis use among teens after adult use legalization. In some groups, youth use even declined. And we have driving and THC detection. So, as I'm reading this, you might be saying, oh, you've talked about this before. So, this is kind of a recap of
Yep.
a lot of what we brought to the
Yep.
show in this
Yeah.
year's episode.
So
So,
if you might have heard this in
it's a nice little,
2025,
yeah,
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 nice little recap Mrs.
recap.
Weedman is doing.
Yeah. So, driving and THC detection. Researchers at UC San Diego tested drivers after cannabis use and found that trace THC levels days after consumption did not correlate with impairment in driving performance. And of course, every time they mention that, they then follow up with, we're not saying that it does not impair your driving, so please don't drive while you're high. So there's my PSA.
Whoops.
4. Alcohol and cigarette use after legalization. Well, clinical data showed declines in drinking and smoking among certain groups after cannabis legalization, especially among degree holders and 30 somethings, which could be substitution effects because cannabis is possibly displacing alcohol and or tobacco. Positive. We are seeing that everywhere, right? I mean, it's dry January, but it is also like people have left the table and they are not going for alcohol anymore. And that just brings us back to the whole like hemp like ban
Yeah.
conversation
Yep.
and all of those THC drinks that you can now get in your local drinking establishment will be gone. And that's a problem because people are enjoying it and it's what consumers want
What's good is some states are gonna take it upon themselves to
to just
regulate the law for the hemp drinks, which is good.
yeah, it
So,
is good.
yeah, they do it anyway with right now with regular, cannabis,
Mhm.
sativa, so we'll see,
Yeah.
I hope they do.
Yeah, I do
It's a
too.
big industry.
Yeah, and it's a lot of jobs.
Yep.
All right, back on track. Cancer risks, specifically head and neck. A large hospital database review found no link between cannabis smoking and head and neck cancers, while tobacco and alcohol remained primary drivers.
Alcohol is bad, McKay.
Yay, weed. Yay, weed. How about suicide and legalization? Canadian hospital data showed stable suicide rates before and after legalization, contradicting historic myths from cultural narratives like reefer madness, that you're just going to go mad and be suicidal if you even smoke a drop of marijuana. Not true. Okay, cannabis versus the risk of unwanted pregnancy. A University of California, San Francisco led study found that heavy alcohol consumption, not cannabis use, increased unwanted pregnancy risks in women wanting to avoid pregnancy. Once again, smoke weed, don't drink. Heart attacks and strokes in older adults. Research on older adults with coronary disease found no increase in heart attacks, strokes, or death associated with cannabis use over several years. Um, I will note as like a little PSA on that, that there are some people who have heart issues and it is risky or dangerous for them to smoke cannabis because cannabis can affect your heart rate. It can, if you're like having a very high THC and very indica prevalent, prominent, I'm really high.
Sativa.
Sativa makes you up.
Right, well,
When
it'll
I'm
make your
talking
heart rate.
I know, but I'm talking about the down.
Oh,
Sometimes you
yeah.
feel like, "Am I
Oh,
even
like you.
alive? Is
Yeah,
my
your
heart
heart rate is
going?"
so low as
Because
it
I have
is.
really low blood pressure, so if I have an indica and I'm really baked, sometimes it's like, "Oh, is my heart working? Is it even in there?" And then, yes, when you can have a high sativa and you've got, like, heart racing palpitations and you think you're having, what's going on with my
Yes.
heart?" So anyway, that's just a little side note. All right, moving on. Long term cannabis use and blood pressure. A 35-year-old cohort study found no link between lifelong cannabis use and high blood pressure, heart abnormalities, or arterial disease. Interesting. Opioid death rates and dispensaries. An observational data dive suggested that areas with legal dispensaries saw up to 30% lower opioid overdose deaths, pointing to potential exit drug dynamics. Yay for weed.
Yay, weed.
2025's cannabis research landscape continues to break away from stigmas and outdated beliefs about cannabis use. The big story here may not be that weed is good or bad. Instead, it's about how complex real world data challenges old assumptions about cannabis use, policies, and their health impacts. We look forward to seeing what research and data in 2026 brings to the table.
There you go.
Yep.
Love it. This article talks about medical cannabis and ALS, a tough topic with real human impact and some intriguing cannabis science behind it. The story comes from the Fresh Toast, breaking down the latest on medical cannabis and ALS. ALS, the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, if I pronounced that right. Also called, this one's a good one, easy for me to remember, Lou Gehrig's disease, first baseman for the New York Yankees, one of the greatest players of all time, is one of the most neurological conditions that hits hard. It's progressive, affects motor neurons that control voluntary muscles, and eventually leads to things like muscle weakness, trouble speaking or swallowing, or even respiratory failure. There's no cure, and most people live only 3 to 5 years after diagnosis. Now, here's where cannabis enters the conversation. For years, the ALS world has been focused on slowing disease progression and managing symptoms because quality of life matters so damn much when the clock's ticking. And people with ALS are not just waiting, they're exploring options, including medical cannabis. Cannabis brings a menu of compounds, most notably THC and CBD, and they interact with the endocannabinoid system, which helps regulate pain, muscle tone, mood, appetite, even inflammation. That's a big deal when the nervous system is under siege. Um, Preclinical animal trials, so we're talking lab research, suggest cannabinoids might have antioxidant, neuroprotective, and anti-inflammatory effects, potentially slowing the degeneration of motor neurons, the very cells ALS destroys. But here's some real talk. That's in animals, not conclusive in humans yet. More critical trials are needed. On the human side of things, patient surveys and early observations tell a story many of you might have heard personally. Folks with ALS report that cannabis helps with a bunch of symptoms: pain, poor appetite, anxiety, muscle cramps, spasticity, that's muscle tightness, drooling, and even sleep issues. Some report feeling better overall. That vibe of well being that can matter just as much as symptom relief when life's battle gets tough. But hold up, it's not all sunshine and rainbows just yet. The definitive evidence showing cannabis slows disease progression in humans is still limited and mixed. Some retrospect studies, that's looking back at data, did see short term relief for pain and anxiety, but also unexpected correlations with faster functional decline. That's confusing as hell and shows just how complex this research really is. Right now, scientists are running ongoing placebo controlled clinical trials to figure out whether cannabis based extracts can do more than ease symptoms that maybe actually affect ALS progression. Until those results are in, doctors, patients, and caregivers have to make decisions based on individual needs, clinical judgment, and legal realities of medical cannabis in the state or country. Here's the real takeaway, and it's important. Medical cannabis is not a cure for ALS. Anyone claiming that it's oversimplifying something incredibly serious. For some folks, under proper medical supervision, cannabis can offer meaningful relief of symptoms that really affect day to day life. So, whether it's helping with pain, easing muscle cramps, stimulating appetite, or just giving someone a bit more comfort in the night, cannabis is part of the evolving picture in ALS care. We celebrate the potential, respect the science, and watch the research like it's my new crop on 420. So I love to see more trials on this.
Hmm.
Really like to see them get down and dirty and get this, see if it really helps. I mean, ALS is a horrible, horrible disease. It's just, I mean, it's taken so many lives and there's no cure, like it said, and just it's just brutal to watch people fall
Hmm.
apart.
Hmm.
It's just sad, and I feel sorry. And hopefully, cannabis can be a way to help them get through all this, and maybe one day they'll find it to maybe help live a better life, longer, a little bit longer of a life. We'll
Yeah.
see. Go weed. So
Mhm.
here's something really cool too. CBD has substantial promise to combat tumors for cancer. And this is scientific review,
Mhm.
right, Mrs. Weedman?
Mhm.
That's why I love giving you the scientific review stuff. You get it, you like it because you know it's coming from science, science,
Science,
science,
science.
right?
Yes.
And this is about CBD too, which is we've been reading a lot about CBD and we've always read a lot about CBD, but I love it because it just gives the plant more and more for people to take on. Not just only THC, but all the other minor cannabinoids. And hearing that, elderly folks are going to be able to get that taking $500 a month or a year, I can't remember, on their Medicare.
Mhm.
So to get covered. Amazing.
Yep.
Yep. So tell us about Miss Weedman.
Yeah, and I also wanna point out, for some people who may not really realize it, that we do have a lot of research, we do have a lot of studies, we do have a lot that comes from universities, but there just hasn't been, the amount of positive research that needs to happen for cannabis, and that really falls into the fact that it's federally illegal. So colleges aren't going to get universities aren't going to get funding, and they're not gonna get grants that go to contributing to any of this, and hospitals aren't gonna get grants, and research centers aren't gonna get money and funding because it's illegal. And so there has been studies done, and we tend to kind of repeat a lot of these kind of redundant topics of research because that's the areas that they've invested in for whatever reason. I don't really understand how all of that works, but and the University of Mississippi has for over what 50 years or so been studying and researching
Yeah.
cannabis, but it generally tends to be the adversities and the downfalls of what cannabis can do. So anytime we can bring positive research to the table, we are happy to do so to share the strengths of this plant and to continue advocating for plant medicine. And
Absolutely.
hopefully, not only I mean, would it be good for the scheduling of cannabis to change to Schedule 1? Yeah,
Three.
right? Or to 3, I'm sorry. Of course it would be good, but really that doesn't get to the ultimate goal of the plant just being free. That's what needs to happen. We
Yeah.
need federal laws to change, and then the whole just
Whole new
it's like a
world.
whole new oyster opens up and real research can happen and oh wow god it'll be really interesting to see that happen. So CBD has substantial promise to combat tumors from cancer. This is a scientific review. In the world of cancer research, a new scientific review published earlier this month highlights growing interest in cannabidiol, better known as CBD, as a potential tool against tumors. Cannabidiol is a non intoxicating compound found in marijuana that has already been studied for its anti inflammatory and symptom relief effects. But in this review, scientists look specifically at how CBD might act on cancer itself, not just the pain, nausea, or stress that often come with the disease. The review examined a broad range of prior studies on CBD and cancer, including research on some of the most aggressive forms of the disease, such as glioblastoma, a type of brain cancer. Across these studies, researchers reported that CBD holds substantial promise as an anti tumor agent. We're not talking about symptoms, we're talking about treatment. Crazy. Because it appears to interfere with fundamental processes that cancer cells use to grow and spread. Should I repeat that? CBD appears to interfere with fundamental processes that cancer cells use to grow and spread. Whoa.
That's big.
Yeah. In laboratory models of colon cancer, for example, CBD was found to disrupt a receptor called GPR55, which helps tumors grow and invade surrounding tissue. Blocking that receptor slowed cell division and, in some cases, made tumors more responsive to standard chemotherapy drugs. Wow. In other experimental systems, CBD treatment was associated with lower activity of genes linked to aggressive cancer growth and higher activity in stress pathways that can slow tumor progression. Studies of lung and breast cancer models showed that CBD's effects can differ by cancer type. In non small cell lung cancer, combinations of CBD and another marijuana compound, THC, appeared to reduce tumor growth by affecting the biological process that enables cancer cells to spread. Wow.
Mm.
In breast cancer models, CBD was shown to halt cell cycles, trigger programmed cell death, and activate autophagy, I think, a process in which cells essentially begin to digest themselves, which can limit tumor survival.
Wow.
These are big, big findings.
Yep.
Despite these laboratory and preclinical findings, the scientists who authored the review emphasized that CBD's potential as an anti tumor agent has not yet been fully validated in large controlled clinical trials. And that understanding how CBD might work in the human body remains a key research frontier. So that's the level of research that we just can't get to yet. They also noted practical challenges, such as the fact that CBD is poorly absorbed when taken orally and is heavily broken down by the body before it reaches tissue like tumors.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Still, the review concluded that CBD's ability to inhibit cancer growth, limit metastasis, and angiogenesis, which is the development of new blood vessels that feed tumors, and it possibly enhances the effectiveness of chemotherapy, which positions it as a compound with real scientific promise. The authors called for carefully designed clinical studies to determine whether the anti tumor effects seen in the lab can translate into meaningful benefits for patients with different types of cancer. Pretty positive information. So let's just hope that research can continue so we can learn more about the benefits of CBD.
Nice job, Ms. Weedman.
Thanks, Mr.
You were
Weedman.
pretty positive about that one. You were like, yeah,
Mm.
CBD, yeah, let's go, CBD.
I'm pretty high.
I was Mrs. Weedman reading that article. She's like, let's go.
That's the OG Kush talking.
Thanks, Big Earl.
Thanks.
Mrs. Weedman was just like gonna be the Hulk in a second, just start ripping off.
Raw.
Raw CBD. Political state and business news. The cannabis industry political committee, American Rights and Reform PAC, just gave another $1.5 million to Donald Trump's MAGA Inc. super PAC right before Trump's cannabis rescheduling executive order, on top of a roughly $1 million already donated. Critics say it shows the industry's political positioning around federal rescheduling, but political cash doesn't automatically guarantee policy outcomes. It's about influence and leverage. Alabama lawmakers introduced House Bill 72 to make smoking or vaping marijuana in a vehicle with a child present a Class A misdemeanor. Whether the car is moving or parked, and with windows open or closed, the bill would require education courses and can trigger child abuse neglect reporting to authorities. It's part of a tough new cannabis-related child safety rules in the state. In Arizona, a new ballot initiative could end retail adult use cannabis sales, even though voters approved in 2020 Prop 207. Another state, everybody. The plan would still allow personal possession and home grow and keep expungents, but shut down licensed dispensaries. It's led by Sean Noble and backed by partly by smart approach of marijuana, smart asses of the masses. Supported say the market didn't live up to the promise about kids and THC levels. Yeah, exactly. Mr. Weedman looked up at me like, what? A Michigan judge just ruled that cannabis industry lawsuit can move forward against the state's new 24% wholesale marijuana tax that took effect on January 1st. Great, because the last couple episodes we talked about that they weren't going to allow it, but this judge is. Good stuff. The Michigan Cannabis Industry Association argues the tax violates the intent of 2018 legalization law and could push buyers back into the illicit market. The judge denied tossing the case, so this fight is just getting started. DePaul University in Chicago is now offering cannabis-related courses, teaching students how to run dispensaries, manage operations, understand community engagement, compliance, record-keeping, and even cannabis history and social injustice issues tied to race and equity. It frames dispensary leadership as part of the community development, blending business smarts with the culture and retail vibe. Cannabis education meets academia. Minnesota colleges are expanding cannabis studies programs to build out the workforce for the state's budding adult use marijuana market. St. Cloud State and M State are rolling out new certificate programs with green flower to teach cultivation, retail, product development, compliance, and more. Schools want grads ready for the real jobs and the growing industry that needs legit training fast. Oh, yeah. I mean, Minnesota's gonna fucking grow really quick once more and more dispensaries open cultivation. It's going to be just like Illinois, Michigan. I mean, it's going to need workers. It's going to need people trained. It's coming. I mean, it's a slow start out of the gate, but I'm telling you what, it's going to grow fast and quick. In Washington state, the legal weed dream is bumping hard into reality. Oversaturated dispensaries, heavy discounts, and retail groups wielding power beyond the original 1502 small business spirit have driven many cannabis companies towards the edge. They are the highest tax rate in the country. Their high taxes, pricing wars, and licensing loopholes are squeezing growers and mom and pop shops while a few big players ride the wave. Whether reform can fix it, all remains to be seen. Come on, Washington, fix your shit. Congressional leaders just dropped a plan to block marijuana rescheduling in key spending bills and instead kept language that protects state medical cannabis programs from DOJ interference. That means lawmakers aren't stopping the feds from reclassifying cannabis, but they're still shielding medical access under state laws. A subtle but meaningful shift in the ongoing federal reform saga. In Oregon, cannabis demand has stayed steady, but growers harvested a record crop in 2025, pushing flower prices down to historic lows, around $3.33 a gram at retail. Whew, that's cheap. Sales dipped slightly last year too, but because folks stopped smoking, not because folks stopped smoking, but because supply outpaced demand. Experts say low prices likely stick around as the state works through its massive harvest. Delaware lawmakers wanted to decriminalize smoking marijuana in public. Right now, puffing a joint on the sidewalk gets you charged with a misdemeanor, up to 5 days in jail and a fine. The new proposal would make it a civil violation, fined up to $50 for first offense, easing up on the harsh old penalties while still banning public smoking. Wisconsin's Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Voss says the state it just isn't ready to legalize medical marijuana. Speak for yourself, Robin, because I can tell you right now, your constituents in that state are ready. They're tired of crossing the border to Illinois to get their weed. So you better talk to your constituents, not what you think. Uh, and called President Trump's cannabis rescheduling directive wrong, still calling pot a dangerous drug. Robin, I don't know who the hell you're talking to, but come on our show so we could teach you a thing or two or three. Voss says there aren't enough votes for the medical bill yet, though he hopes research barriers might loosen if rescheduling happens. A weird twist of support. Now, passing the joint over to you, Mrs. Weedman.
All right, I've got some more political, state, and business news. The Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics, the OBN, just released jaw dropping stats showing that Oklahoma is a major source of illegal marijuana trafficking, with authorities calling it startling how much unregulated cannabis is moving through their borders. OBN says enforcement and seizures are increasing as they work to curb the black market flow and protect communities.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Nebraska's Medical Cannabis Commission approved a new round of emergency regulations and granted one cultivator license as the state builds out its medical cannabis program after voters approved legalization in 2024. And it is now 2026, and they gave one license.
Huh.
The rules, which still need tweaking on supply applications, aim to get licenses out, even as Nebraska remains one of the country's more restrictive medical markets. Advocates urged the panel to focus on helping patients who need relief. Guess who those patients are? The voters.
Yep.
Ice-T's cannabis dispensary, the Medicine Woman in Jersey City, has closed less than a year after opening, despite a big grand opening and local hype. The celeb co-owned shop faced a crowded New Jersey cannabis market and rising costs, showing even star power doesn't guarantee easy business. Supply, competition, and heavy regulations are real, and they affect all shops, even those that are celebrity owned. The New Hampshire House just advanced HB 186, a bill to legalize marijuana possession, home cultivation, and create a taxed, regulated commercial cannabis market for adults 21 and up. Supporters say it aligns state law with public opinion and could shift law enforcement's focus, while opponents still worry about business structures and rollout. Even so, it's a step forward for the Granite State's reform. As Georgia's 2026 legislative session kicks off, advocates are pushing medical cannabis expansion. Lawmakers plan to reintroduce bills that would raise THC limits for patients and curb marijuana arrests based on smell, aiming to loosen the state's strict low THC rules that currently limit Georgia's medical program to oil and edibles. Their fight for better patient access continues. Meanwhile, in Hawaii, a top lawmaker plans a bill to put cannabis legalization directly in voters' hands after years of legislative dead ends. Dave Tarnas says since the legislature keeps stalling, it's time to hear the people's voice on ending prohibition, even if lawmakers aren't ready to act themselves. Support from Governor Josh Green exists, but Oahu reps are split. The Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority just announced $50 million in new R3 grants funded by legal cannabis tax revenue. That includes $35 million for re-entry, economic development, and legal aid, plus $15 million for youth development and violence prevention. Born from the Cannabis Regulation and Trust Act, R3 reinvests 25% of adult use weed taxes back into communities hardest hit by the war on drugs. That's some positive news right there. I want to do a little looking into on that. Something tells me that may not be happening. In It is Illinois. In 2025, Ohio dispensaries sold more than $1 billion worth of legal marijuana, with about $836 million from recreational sales and over $233 million from medical cannabis. It's the first full year of adult use sales. Folks are buying legal green in big numbers, even as the market continues to find its groove. If President Trump's recent executive order directing federal officials to reschedule marijuana out of Schedule 1 actually gets completed, it might finally free up Washington, D.C. to legalize adult use recreational sales after years of congressional blockades. Federal rescheduling wouldn't legalize weed nationwide, but it could clear the path for many states who aren't yet participating. Congress just ditched language in a federal funding bill that would have blocked the DOJ from rescheduling marijuana, leaving the executive branch's authority intact. That means the door stays open for the Trump administration's rescheduling push to move weed down the federal ladder. Momentum might be picking up. Yay for that. Massachusetts just reached $10 billion in total legal cannabis sales since adult use launched, with $1.65 billion sold in 2025 alone. Regulators say adding social consumption lounges in 2026 could give the market another bump, and they're eyeing federal rescheduling research opportunities too. The Bay State's weed scene keeps maturing, and lounges are on the horizon. That's it for my news, Mr. Weedman. It's back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Weedman. The federal government, through agencies like NIDA, now finally acknowledges marijuana has medical value. Oh, finally. I mean, they've been fucking dogging marijuana since before Nixon. So, especially CBD, after decades of saying it didn't. But the fine print matters. This doesn't magically legalize everything. Rescheduling will still shape research, regulation, access, and how the feds handle weed, meaning the plant's medical value. It's official, but the devil's in the details as reform moves forward. A GOP congressman says he's not worried about delays in the marijuana rescheduling process because President Trump made it very clear the DOJ should move forward with rescheduling cannabis. He called the Attorney General certainly competent and brushed off concerns the Department of Justice might sit on Trump's directive, keeping faith in the executive push for federal reform. Our artificial intelligence is leveling up cannabis world by personalizing strain choices, precision dosing, terpene matching, and even delivery method suggestions based on your goals. AI crunches terpenes, cannabinoids, and consumer data to recommend what's most likely to work for sleep, stress, focus, helping reduce trial and error and make weed choices smarter. We have talked about this multiple times.
Yes, we
Looking
have.
forward to being able to do that myself. The Trump administration quietly scraped federal advice urging limits on daily alcohol consumption, or I should say scrapped, even as marijuana stays federally illegal. The updated U.S. dietary guidance removes specific drink limit recommendations, but doesn't say anything about cannabis. Still criminal under federal law, highlighting a weird contrast as more Americans choose weed over booze for health reasons. Pre rolls aren't just afterthoughts anymore. In 2025, over 310 million pre rolls were sold, generating nearly $2.8 billion. Can you look up how many cigarettes were sold in 2025? Generating nearly $2.8 billion, grabbing a 15.8% market share behind flower and vapes. Ready to smoke joints, especially infused and hybrid varieties, bringing convenience, bigger baskets, repeat visits, and retail mojo, making pre-rolls a cornerstone of modern cannabis retail growth. How many?
Um, Global cigarette sales were around 4.6 to over 5 trillion
Holy shit.
units with revenues in the hundreds of
Yes.
billions.
What about the
That's
global?
global.
What about the United States?
US. Let's see. How many?
While you're looking that up, I'll read the next one. Cannabis retail is shifting from just transactions to empathetic simplicity, where stores make shopping easy, honest, and welcoming instead of overwhelming customers with menus and jargon. Brands that listen to real people and embrace clear and intuitive design, plus empowered budtenders, build trust and loyalty, meeting folks where they are in their cannabis journey. How many in the United States?
They don't have their numbers in yet.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it's on a long-term decline.
They don't want their shareholders knowing.
Downturns, yeah, but, pack volume has decreased from 9.23 to 5.61 billion packs between 2016 and 2024, so that's
Gotcha.
like an 8-year period.
Gotcha.
So I
So
don't know, but
probably about a
a lot.
billion,
Just let's say a lot.
cigarettes.
Yeah.
Not close yet, but we're getting there. Pre-rolls,
Yeah.
we are getting there. 310 million here in the United States is no joke, and $2.8 billion, no joke for just 2025. What have I been talking about for how many years now about pre-rolls? Since
It's the way to go.
2019, I've been talking about pre-rolls.
People like convenience.
That's it. Grab and go items. All you dispensaries out there are finally listening. I don't know if you listen to the show or you listen to me when I'm on the streets, but I've been talking about pre-rolls for a very long time. Glad you're finally starting to take advantage of it. 2.8 billion reasons why you are. Alabama doctors can now apply for medical cannabis certification permits after the state finally issued dispensary licenses. Physicians with active Alabama licenses for 4 hours of cannabis training and board approval can recommend patients to legal medical weed. 9 cities, including Birmingham, Athens, Mobile, Oxford, Montgomery, Cullman, and Talladega, are set to have dispensaries, moving Alabama's medical cannabis program forward. Texas Department of State Health Services is proposing new hemp rules that redefine how THC is measured and could effectively ban smokable THCA flower by counting THCA toward total THC limits. The plan also slashes child-resistant packaging, warning labels, huge fee hikes, and could reshape the state's hemp scene as early as January 25th. Critics say fees and rules could kill small hemp businesses. A new Florida bill aims to legalize recreational marijuana and break up the state's tight medical cannabis monopolies. Good. By expanding businesses' licenses for more growers, processors, and dispensaries. Here's what you need to do, Florida. If someone wants to open up a dispensary, they can't because you have to own a cultivation to sell to your own dispensaries. You need to stop that. You need to let people buy from who they want to buy and be able so small business owners can open up just a dispensary because it's impossible and so unaffordable in Florida to open up cultivation. So you give people a chance. Supporters say the boost competition, lower prices, and open doors for small businesses and patients alike as Florida eyes a broader, fair cannabis market. In Maine, a GOP lawmaker and cannabis advocates say anti-weed petitioners are straight up lying to get signatures on a ballot measure that would end legal recreational cannabis sales and home grow rights. Ugh. Petition workers misrepresent the proposal as testifying safety stuff to trick people into signing. Yeah, I heard they were giving dollar bills, dollar bills, y'all, for people who were signing up. And folks are being warned, don't sign that bogus petition. One more time. If you're in Maine, do not sign that petition. It's crap. Ola. Pennsylvania medical marijuana program saw a slight drop in registered users, even as the dispensary sales ticketed up and topped over 1.3 billion through 2025. Still, lawmakers remain divided on adult use legalization, with competing ideas from state-run stores to private markets, while public and fiscal pressure grows to legalize recreational weed. Come on, Penn, let's go. It's about time. Ms. Weedman,
Yep, Mr. Weedman.
tell me about Navigating the Green Rush.
Yep.
Tell us about a strategic guide to choosing a recruiter for a career in cannabis. This
Yeah,
is
this is
important.
powerful.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a good one. This is powerful. Ms. Weedman said it. I don't want to steal her thunder, but this is a good article if you're trying to get into the cannabis industry, or if you're in the cannabis industry and you don't like where you're at. Recruiters in this industry are big in the cannabis industry. I get hit up by recruiters all the time. So I'm telling you right now, listen to this article. This is going to help you a lot. Tell us about Ms. Weedman.
Yeah. The decision to pivot into an emerging industry like cannabis. Are you lighting your joint? Because I was going to light mine too. So let's have a little smoke here for a quickie second, and then
Oh,
I'll get into this
I like a
article.
good quickie
Yeah.
session.
Hmm. I heard you. I didn't miss that.
You didn't miss it?
I didn't miss
I
that.
didn't miss it either.
No, you didn't.
Nope, not at all.
Never. All right. The
I almost spit my fucking drink all over my computer.
The decision to pivot into an emerging industry like cannabis can be both exciting and daunting. You're drawn by the potential, the innovation, and the possibility to be part of something transformative. Yet, you're also facing a unique set of challenges: an evolving regulatory landscape, a distinct cultural fabric, and a skills gap where your proven expertise from another sector may not have obvious one to one mapping. In this complex transition, the right recruiter isn't just a convenience, they can be a critical partner. In my experience, a good recruiter can be the bridge between your established past and your dynamic future. But how do you select a recruiter who can truly help you navigate this terrain? I believe this requires moving beyond a LinkedIn search and adopting a more discerning and investigative approach. Here's a strategic framework to help you select a recruiter who can successfully guide you on your journey into cannabis. Seek an industry specific Sherpa, not a generalist guide. This is the non negotiable starting point. The complexities of the cannabis industry are profound, and a recruiter who primarily places accountants in manufacturing or marketers in tech will lack the nuanced understanding you need. Uh, 100%. Look for a dedicated practice. Look for recruiting firms or headhunters who explicitly list keywords like cannabis or plant touching as a dedicated practice area. This indicates a committed investment in the space. Look for network depth. A true specialist's value often lies in their network. They have established relationships, not just with HR departments, but with founders, VPs of cultivation, heads of extraction, and so forth. They understand the who's who and the nuances of different companies, from lean, scrappy startups to publicly traded MSOs. Look for fluency. They should speak the language. Terms like seed to sale, COAs, post harvest workflow, metric compliance, 280E, those should all be part of their natural vocabulary. This fluency allows them to accurately translate your skills into the industry's context. There's some questions you should ask. What are some key operational and regulatory challenges facing your cannabis clients, and how might they impact the roles you're trying to fill? An experienced recruiter often acts as a transmitter, simply passing your resume from one inbox to another, while a true partner acts as a translator. Your background in CPG brand management, pharmaceutical logistics, or agricultural science is immensely valuable, but it requires a narrative that can resonate with a cannabis CEO. My joint went out. All right, back to what you should look for: strategic storytelling. Your recruiter must be able to articulate why your experience in a regulated, fast moving consumer goods industry, for example, is a perfect fit for a cannabis edibles company, even if you've never touched the plant. They can reframe your resume, highlighting transferable skills in compliance, supply chain management, and brand building. Look for a consultative approach. The best recruiters will spend as much time understanding your motivations, learning style, and risk tolerance as they do reviewing your skills. They are assessing for mutual fit, not just filling a slot. They can both challenge you and prepare you. Ask them, based on my background in XYZ, how might you position my skills to a director of operations at a cultivation facility? Yeah, I mean, you got to give them challenging questions too, right?
You do.
In a young industry, many of the most compelling opportunities are not publicly advertised. They're filled through networks and trusted referrals, and a recruiter's true power is in their access to that hidden market. Look for proactive sourcing, not reactive posting. Are they reaching out to you about a specific unlisted opportunity that matches your profile? That is a strong indicator they are working on exclusive, high priority searches. Look for quality over quantity. A specialist recruiter will likely have fewer but more targeted job orders than a generalist firm. This is a positive sign. It means they are focused on roles where they can provide deep value and have a direct line to the hiring manager. Look for insider knowledge. They should be able to provide you with intelligence you can't get from a job description. The company's funding status, the team's dynamic, the founder's background, and maybe even some real challenges behind the role. Ask them, what percentage of the roles you are working on right now are not posted on public job boards? Can you give me an example of a recent placement you made that was never advertised? The culture in cannabis can be a unique blend of activist passion, entrepreneurial hustle, and scientific rigor. A company producing artisanal cannabis from living soil has a different ethos than a large scale MSO focused on operational efficiency and national branding. A misalignment here is often the primary reason for failed placements. So, look for value based matching. Your recruiter should probe your motivations. Are you driven by patient advocacy, the science of the plant, the business of branding, or the engineering of large scale production? They must understand the cultural spectrum within the industry to place you where you can thrive. Look for candid counsel. They must be willing to tell you hard truths. They might advertise that your corporate Fortune 500 style may be too rigid for a certain startup, or that a company's move fast and break things mentality may not suit your methodical approach. This honesty saves everyone time and heartache. Ask them, beyond the job description, how would you describe the culture and the working style of the teams you're connecting me with? Where have you seen professionals from traditional backgrounds struggle to adapt? And where have they excelled? Good questions. Your career pivot is a strategic investment. The recruiter you select is the lead architect for the project. By choosing a partner who embodies industry specialization, strategic translation, exclusive access, cultural intelligence, and unwavering professionalism, you transform a daunting leap into a calculated, confident stride. In the fertile ground of a new industry, the right guide doesn't just open a door, they help you build a foundation for long term success. So, powerful, I think.
Not even
Yeah,
think. No.
that's super good.
Yeah, for all of you out there looking to get in the cannabis industry or actually any industry, but if this is specifically for the cannabis industry, great job, Rolling Stone magazine, by bringing
Mhm.
this up. Um, I would definitely take that, what Mrs. Weedman just read. We'll also put that on our as a the article. It'll be on,
The link will be
the
on
link
the
will be
yeah.
on there so you can read it. But finding a recruiter, if you get calls from a recruiter, I happen to have a recruiter that has been very good to me. He didn't help me with the last 3 jobs I've gotten in the cannabis industry, but since I've been in the cannabis industry, I've gotten to know him. His name is Pasquale, he works for Flower Hire. Really good dude, and I'm gonna, give him a shout out because not only has he called me to let me know about jobs, and we go through the whole thing, and we talk, but we've also become somewhat of, like, phone friends. Like, he'll call knowing I might not be looking, but asking my advice or my opinion on candidates or who I might know, and then gives me the description, and then I kinda think about, "Okay, let me find out. There's some people I might know in my repertoire this job would be good for." And I lead them to Pasquale to help them out, that I know people are looking for jobs. So but not only just to check on just checks on me in general. How's life going for you? How things going in the cannabis industry? What's the pulse? I like to call it when someone likes to check your pulse, see if you're still alive out there. You know, you might not hear from a family member or for a friend for 6 months. You're like, whoa, I haven't heard from this fucking person. Got to check their pulse every once in a while.
Mhm,
You know, give them a
mhm.
quick little text or phone call. Boom, 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 and that's what Pasquale does for me. Likes to check my pulse here and there just to see how I'm doing in the industry. That's a good recruiter. That's also a good salesperson. It's also somebody who's a good communicator, right?
Mhm.
3 big things right there you need to understand. You need and it's a really good way to be able to get in this industry a little bit quicker than just going to a website and applying or going to a LinkedIn link and applying. These recruiters are there to help you get a job. They get paid to do that. It bypasses all the fucking AI bullshit now you have to go through before you even get a call from the HR department if they call you. And most of the time, you don't even get a email back anymore when you apply to something. The recruiter's there to be that bridge, right, Ms. Weedman?
Yeah,
To be
yeah.
that bridge to get you to that interview quick, to see if that job is right for you. So try to find a good, solid recruiter. So great job, Mrs. Weedman, on that article. So, international news: in Venezuela, cannabis remains strictly illegal with no medical program or legalization debate underway. The country's long, porous borders make it more of a drug transit corridor for Colombian marijuana rather than a producer. And public opinion on legalization is rarely measured. Despite regional liberalization trends, Venezuela prohibitionist stance shows little sign of changing soon. It's terrible. Germany's medical cannabis bill just hit critical health committee review after a continuous first Bundestag reading. Expert warns parts of the framework could be unenforceable, and coalition cracks are showing, even as 22 witnesses weigh in the pivotal moment for Germany's near €1 billion medical market and the future of cannabis policy there. As of January 1st, 2026, Czechia officially legalized personal cannabis for adults 21 plus, can grow up to 3 plants, keeping 100 grams at home and carry 25 grams in public. Hell yeah. Commercial adult use sales aren't live yet, but Prague's historic reform puts Czechia alongside other legal countries and marks a big European cannabis milestone. While Germany's taking a back seat, you're seeing other European countries that are building a solid cannabis business and industry. Thailand's government, here's a fuck up right here. Thailand's government is moving to tighten cannabis rules after thousands of dispensaries sprouted post decriminalization. New draft regs would limit sales mostly to licensed medical facilities, herb sellers, pharmacies, and trained traditional practitioners, squeezing out casual shops. It's part of a broader rollback of liberal weed policies aimed at reining in booming industry while keeping medical access intact amid political shifts. What I say, Mrs. Weedman, about Thailand? Don't
Don't mess
fuck
it
it
up.
up.
Yep. Mhm.
Kenyan's police intercepted Lori and Nimrik and Mia carrying about 90 kilograms of unprocessed cannabis sativa, bang, hidden in sacks, part of nationwide anti-narcotics crackdown targeting trafficking networks. The driver and assistant were arrested and are in custody as authorities push to disrupt drug flows and product public safety. UK police chiefs have issued new guidance telling officers to treat medical cannabis users as patients first. All right, UK Police Department. Suspects second, after years of confusion, with officers often unaware of CBPMs are legal with prescriptions. The shift aims to stop unwarranted stops and clashes over the actual lawful medicine. Researchers of Wageningen University and Research WR in the Netherlands literally brought ancient cannabis enzymes back to life to see how THC, CBD, and CBC evolved. Those old school enzymes were generalists, making multiple cannabinoids from one precursor and might help biotech producers rare cannabinoids like CBC for medicine. It's like unlocking cannabis history to power future drugs and plant innovation. World Breeders, a seed company with roots in Spain's Basque Cannabis Clubs, has grown into global genetics exporter with operations in 3 continents and breeding strains like Clementine Slush and Pink Truffle. They moved production to Colombia for licensed legal cultivation and now ship seeds worldwide, pushing innovation and terpene-rich genetics into new markets. And that is international news, everybody. Mrs. Weedman's got another one I like. This is a good one.
This is good.
So out of all the songs about weed, and there's been many of them, hip hop, jazz, rock and roll, pop, I mean, blues, uh, what am I missing? Anything? Any
Jazz,
I said jazz, so yes.
reggae,
Reggae. Thank you, Miss Weedman. How can I forget that?
phew,
Yeah, so
rock and roll.
that's I'll only play it.
Hmm.
So here's a good question for all of you stoners, burners, and potheads to think about, right?
Yep.
What was let's do it in Jeopardy, right? What was the first song in history to ever mention weed?
It was? How would they answer that?
What is
What is? Wh what is?
whatever the song you're gonna tell us
Yeah,
about.
whatever, I don't know.
Do, do,
Do,
do,
do.
do,
Okay.
do, do,
I'd fail
do,
at it
do.
every time because 'cause I'd forget to make it like a question. I would just shout out the answer,
You'd be
afraid I
like
was gonna forget it,
you'd be
you
like
know?
Horseshack
Yeah.
from "Oh,
Hey.
oh, oh, Mr. Horse Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter, oh, I know, Mr. Carter."
All right. Long before hip hop made weed reference as a cultural staple, musicians were weaving cannabis. Can you hear Yuki slurping up a bunch
Just
of water right
slurping some
now?
water up right now. She
Just
thirsty.
get at it, girl. Get
Right
at
there,
it.
girl. Was recording now. It's minute and 10 in. Now you coming for water?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All right. We'll start that over. Long before hip hop made. Geez, Yuki.
Yuki.
Sluggo.
Huh?
Chill, girl.
Sorry, everybody.
Long before hip hop made weed reference as a cultural staple, musicians were weaving cannabis into their music, even if most listeners today wouldn't recognize those early names or tunes. When we think of songs about marijuana, modern anthems like Young, Wild, and Free by Snoop Dogg, Because I Got High by Afro Man, and Hits from the Bong by Cypress Hill come to mind. But those tracks only reflect a shift that happened in the late 50s and 60s when rock and roll counterculture music began openly talking about drugs as part of the era's broader cultural changes. At that time, artists shed formal image norms and embraced topics that were once taboo in popular songs. The mainstream use of weed references didn't start then, but that's when it became socially visible in music. Digging deeper into music history reveals that the very first documented reference to cannabis is a song that goes back much farther to the early 20th century. One of the most obvious early examples is Mr. Weedman's Dancing, Cab Calloway's 1932 jazz tune, The Reefer
My
Man.
fave. Mr. G sings that song
That's
for
right.
me.
In it, Calloway opens with a spoken dialogue about a man full of that reefer and follows with a playful, satirical portrait of a cannabis smoker who thinks he can walk on water and mistakes watermelons for pickles. That explicit reference places the Reefer Man among the earliest songs in recorded history to directly mention weed in the lyrics. But that isn't the only early contender. Louis Armstrong's 1929 instrumental, Muggles, while not lyrically explicit, was almost certainly a nod to marijuana, since Muggles was Harlem slang for weed at the time. Armstrong himself was known for his cannabis use and was even one of the first celebrities arrested for possession, lending cultural context to that track as an ode to the herb. The cannabis related musical trail, however, may extend even earlier through folk tradition, like La Cucaracha, a Spanish folk song that became wildly known in Mexico in the 19th century.
How many times when you were a kid did you
La
sing La
Cucaracha,
Cucaracha?
La
When we were kids and
Cucaracha,
did not know that
cha
was a
cha cha
weed
cha cha cha
reference.
cha.
Oh my god,
Uh-huh.
so many times.
It includes versions with a verse about the cockroach not having marijuana to smoke. Because folk lyrics evolve and get personalized through generations of singers, this may predate anything recorded, though its original form likely did not mention weed. These early songs, from jazz to folk, show how references to weed have long appeared across musical forms, long before it became commonplace in pop culture. Over time, as society's relationship with cannabis evolved, explicit mentions moved from coded slang and instrumental homage to outright celebration in lyrics across genres. Hey, Mr. Weedman, let's turn on some weed tunes and get baked.
Hell yeah.
All right.
We will as soon as we're done recording this show. Since we've been in the new home, our old home had a TV in the kitchen, right? So we were able
Mhm.
to watch TV. We don't have a TV in this kitchen.
Mhm.
I don't think I want one now. I've been
No,
kind of enjoying
it's
just
kinda
we've
nice.
been having music on
Mhm.
more so than ever, uh, playing in the kitchen and in the living room, and I kinda like it better than having a TV on and just staring blanklessly at the TV while we eat dinner and just listening to good jazz or good blues or
Right.
good rock and roll or good hip hop, good reggae, and while we smoke a little J while we're cooking and eating and having some
Mhm.
fun, and just I've enjoyed listening to music more in this house because we don't have the TV in front of us. It's kinda
Yeah,
nice. It's
it's
kinda
nice.
really nice. So great job on that article, Miss Wee Man. So,
Thanks.
there's so many good weed songs out there, so many.
Mhm.
And I think I have an article for next week that's gonna go talk about a little about hip hop and weed next week. So, which we've talked many a times and how weed references in hip hop have been around for a very long time. But
Mhm.
yeah, I love that song, The
Mhm.
Reefer Man. I
Mhm.
especially love it when Mr. G sings it for us on
Yep.
420. So it's
Mhm.
special. And you had got me a poster that I'm
I
looking
did.
forward to
Yep.
hanging up. We'll post a picture of it on our Instagram, 8 Decades Instagram. Make sure you follow it. A big poster. It won't fit in the studio, unfortunately, but I'm excited to put it in our basement and have it hung up by my bar somewhere, which is going to be great, my weed bar. And yeah, oh man, this poster's great. Mr. Weedman found it for me online, and I cannot wait to frame it and hang it. It's special. Thanks, Mr. Weedman.
Sure, Mr.
Um,
Weedman.
Mr. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
Yep.
You got anything else to say?
Flu's going around. Wash your hands a lot. It's not pleasant.
That flu A is a
It's not
bitch.
fun.
That flu A sucked. Mr. Weedman finally getting over it.
Yeah. So, and there is some people don't may not know because had no idea. There's a flu test. So you can buy a COVID test that also tests for flu A and B.
Yeah,
And what's the point? You might be like, why the fuck would I spend money on that? But it's kind of nice to know, like, hey, I got the flu out of the way.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if you're sick and you feel like you're dying, you might as well find out if what it is, and then you could be like, check, won't have that again.
That flu A's been knocking people on their ass
It's
for like
rough.
10, 12 days. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
reading people listening to people talk about it going, I was knocked out for like 2 weeks, but the first week was like brutal.
Hmm.
Like, this is not COVID, we're talking about here. We're talking
Not
about
me. I was pulling carpet, and I've been working.
not the first 4
No.
days you weren't. Now,
Fuck
all
no.
right,
Fuck
everybody.
no.
But we may got a little crazy there. I was the first 4 days, Mama Tutu came up and cooked dinner.
Mama. My mom would be like, "What did you call me?" Mama.
Mom Tutu came up and took care of you
Yeah.
for a day, and then Mr. Weeman and Yuki made sure Mrs. Weeman could not get out of bed
Yeah.
for 4 straight days. By that Saturday, you forced yourself to get out of bed because we had some shit we had to do, but yeah, you were I've never felt a person so hot before in my I mean,
I was a radiator.
you yes, you were. You were hot, like
Yeah.
105 to
No
110-degree
way. I
hot.
was not.
I'm not talking about, like, your internal your body was fucking if I touched your skin, I was like, "Holy smokes, you're fucking on fuego right
Uh,
now," like, burning for, like, 4 straight days. If I was cold, I would
just
just lean up against Ms. Wee Man, I'd
lean
warm right
up
up.
and
Yeah,
get
I
warm.
like, "Holy smokes, Ms. Wee Man, hot, hot, hot." Wow, I couldn't believe how hot you were. But yeah, it was rough on you. Yeah, it took you out 4 days.
Yeah.
You didn't have fake COVID this time, that's for
No,
sure.
no fake COVID there. Mr. Weedman's just jealous because when he gets COVID, he's like
Or the
death.
flu.
And when I get
beat it.
COVID, I like go
I
do
beat the flu in
gardening
1
and
day.
yeah,
I was getting it,
you were getting it.
and I spoke my body out of it. Told you all I'm a true believer in speaking stuff into
You had like the
existence.
8-hour flu.
I was rough. I thought I was getting
You're
it,
like,
and all
oh,
of a
I'm
sudden
going down.
yeah.
I'm going down.
And I was doing my best not to go down because my whole thought process is if we both go down, who's taking care of one another? Because you weren't getting out
Which
of
is
bed
why my mom came up
for a
'cause she's
day.
like, oh no.
But I started feeling it on Monday night, and I was I was like, "Oh, no, this is bad." Got the chills, got the sweats, got the body aches. My head was pounding. I'm like, "No, no, 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 I'm not getting sick. My body's not getting sick. Just thinks it's
Can't
sick.
do
It's
this,
just I
can't do
can't do
it.
it." Someone has to take care of the house, and someone has to take care of Mrs. Weedman
And the dog.
and the
Yeah,
dog.
we were, like, literally having these
Yeah,
like, "I don't know, I'm
yeah.
not gonna be
And
able
I
to
woke
help
up
you."
Tuesday around 8 o'clock going, "I gotta get my ass out of bed." I took a Tylenol to get rid of the headache, and by 2 o'clock, I was like, "I think I'm gonna survive this." And I totally talked I worked,
Yeah,
I got shit done, and then took care of Mrs. Weeman for a
yeah,
few days.
you did.
I did. Cooked his soup.
My mom says so my mom is in her 80s, and, she has a lot of, like, friend groups, and it's a common conversation that single men are just looking for a a a nurse or a purse, which is just hysterical.
These old 80-year-old women talk about,
Talking about
um,
guys that way, so they all just stay single
they
because 'cause
want
they're
a
like,
nurse
"Nope,
or a
a nurse
purse.
or a purse."
That's fucked up.
Yeah,
Funny, but fucked up.
yeah, yeah. So thanks for being my nurse and my purse while I was illin'.
She did bring some food up too and bake
Yeah.
some bread.
No, I'm saying you. You were
Oh,
my
I'm your
nurse
nurse and your
and
purse?
my
Oh,
purse.
I love that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, everybody out there, we're gonna end this show before we get even more a little crazier and crazier, but,
We're wild and
wild and crazy
crazy,
at the kitchen
wild and
table
crazy.
recording on this episode, so everybody out there in the world, we love you. Thank you so much for listening to the show, and, I'm gonna say it, we need some peace, we need some love, we need some kindness, and I need you to all go out there and live some fucking life. We love you. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a ninth decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.